What is going on, everyone? We are breaking down the AFC West receiver rooms tonight live here on YouTube. Which team has the best receiver room in the AFC West? Stay tuned.
It won't play.
There's been times where I've done virtual therapy with Kingston, and he literally is like, "Hi," and he clicks it and turns it off.
Yeah, like 5 or 10 minutes into the session, we're like, "You're done?"
So speaking of chasing the standard, let's talk about the Broncos real quick. Obviously,
good segue.
The Chargers fan base is really, really cool, really, really welcoming. Mostly, especially if you're at SoFi.
The preparation for
where's my Jayhawk question at, man? That's what I want.
He wants coming right here.
Oh, if they take one message from this book, I would say not to compare yourself with others.
All right. Well, here we are, guys. Welcome to West War Room Rivals. As Corey had mentioned, we have a jam-packed episode. Thank you guys for dealing with allowing us to deal with some technical difficulties there. That was a bit interesting. We had a false start there, I guess. So, fellas, how's it going? You guys had Stephen Davis on last night, all-pro, former running back. How was he? I tried to watch some of the episode, but he seemed like he had a lot more nuggets offline.
Yeah, what's funny is it's another guest who had nice things to say about the Raiders while you were gone.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have this job that's very needy. So
it's funny because we told him, we're like, okay, you guys have, like, most guests have said nice things about the Raiders, and then we had Sly Williams on who told you it was never going to get better.
Right. I mean, it all balances out, which is funny. But yeah, 2 guests in a row that have given the Raiders flowers, and I'm not here to receive them. So it's kind of unfortunate.
I mean, I don't know if you heard, he said that the Raiders are going to be like actual contenders for the AFC West.
Yeah, I caught that part where he said that a sleeper team in the AFC West is the Raiders. And I don't know if I'm bold enough to say that, but I appreciate a former All-Pro saying that. He's recognizing what the Raiders are doing. If they can do it, that'd be amazing. And we'll clip that to show that he called that shot like months before the season started. So
they're literally the only sleepers in the West. Like everyone's talking about 3 of the teams being, competitive, wild card.
Right.
Literally one team that you can pick to be a sleeper.
You don't think the Chiefs are a sleeper for the?
No, I still think the Chiefs are a borderline playoff team. That's more than I can confidently say about the Raiders at this point.
But nobody would be surprised if they won the West or got in the playoffs. Like
in their first year of putting everything together, you wouldn't be surprised if they did.
We're talking about the Chiefs.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No one would be surprised if the Chiefs went to the playoffs.
No, everyone's surprised with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Lord help us all if the Raiders make the playoffs this year.
I mean, the only people that wouldn't be surprised are Raider fans because they swear they say it every year.
No, I would be surprised. I'm going to be the first one to tell you I'd be shocked if they even are close to the divisional round or divisional title. I'd be shocked. So.
Whoa! Let's get to the playoffs first before we sit here and start throwing.
Sorry. I'm going off of a couple of hours of sleep. I misspoke. When we get to the AFC Championship game, I'm just kidding.
Raiders players are always coming off a couple hours of sleep before they play. So
yeah, unfortunately, that's why we lost one of our first rounders way back then. So. Anyways, all right, we can keep going on and on and on, but we're going to get into the show. But before we do, let's give some sponsor shout outs. JBW Solutions, shout out to Jeff and the crew right above here. Go visit jbwsolutionsllc.com today for all safety, compliance, and OSHA regulations. They're also expanding, so we're supposed to meet with Jeff and get more deets on what's going on. And 2026 season is going to be fun to work with JBW, so we're excited about that. Also, Troy and the team at Field Ops for all your court marking needs. Visit Troy and the crew. And Day One supporters, Emporia State Federal Credit Union, Angie and the team, the War Room banking of choice. All right, guys. So this is the 3rd week we're on positional review or preview. Excuse me. We did the quarterbacks, we did the running backs, and now we are doing the prima donnas of the group, the wide receivers. So I think no better team to lead us off in terms of prima donnas. I think the Chiefs should go first. So Austin, break us down your receiver room.
Prima donnas, is that like
it's Madonna but pre?
It's before
Right.
Madonna.
It's
era.
before Madonna.
Before.
No, I didn't know jail counted for that or like what the definition was, because like outside of getting some jail time, they're a pretty silent group. But I digress. I think some strengths of this room, and we're going to talk when they're healthy and not suspended or serving time.
The prison 40s.
Yeah, the prison 40s.
Which, by the way, great job on the rehab.
Yeah, with Rashee Rice, showing up for them tree outs. I think when they're healthy and out there together, I think they're a very complementary group. If Tyquan Thornton becomes that third receiver, I think they have, him as the true deep threat. Rashee Rice is kind of the middle yards after catch guy, and then Worthy being that gadget guy that also a deep threat, but gadget guy that Andy likes. But their strengths are obviously going to be speed. That's been always a strength of an Andy Reid receiving room from his Philly days, right? I mean, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, like Tyreek Hill over with the Chiefs, like speed. If you're over like 5'6" and you don't run like a 3.1 40, you have no interest from Andy Reid. But so strengths is obviously one. They're not bad when it comes to drops, when the receivers themselves. Next week when we get to the tight end group, that's where that'll be talked about. But receivers, they actually have pretty decent hands. So, there is a lot to like about the receiving core. Obviously, improvements needed. The one area they are awful, and it's getting open against man. I think that's why everyone thought Chiefs would go out and address the receiving room, because they can't get open against man. Which is kind of shocking given the speed and Andy's usually pretty good at dialing up things to help receivers get open, but they were not good at getting open against man. So running it back with the same group, who knows if, Shea coming in as a new receiving coach, bringing EB back, if that'll help them against man, but hopefully an improved run game will help with that as well. Who knows? But it's still 50-50 on what this receiving room can do. No true alpha one receiver either. I know that matters to some, not necessarily me. I like the room because they complement each other. Would I love to have a Jamar Chase or like JSN? Well, I mean, yes, I would. But, I do think it's a complementary group, not a deep group. But overall, we're gonna have to see what in-house fixes they are doing, because we're basically just running it back. So it's kind of the surprise of the offseason. I think everyone had receiver for Chiefs as one of the like obvious needs, and they didn't address it. So still kind of a question mark when it comes to that group.
I mean, you guys have receivers that are kind of the same, right? Royals, Worthy, and Thornton, they're all speedsters. So I think.
Well, one name, pay attention to Cyrus Allen. That's one name that I think Chiefs fans need to get comfortable with. I think he's going to be a special teams guy at first, kick return, punt return. He'll battle with Remijo on that. He may even beat him out. This guy is from Cincy. He's very fast. He's very shifty. He's not Tyreek Hill level, but he could be a big part of what they do with that offense. And it honestly wouldn't surprise me if he kind of got his way, like forced his way onto the field. So, don't forget about him as the speedster either.
Yeah, and Tyquan is a lot different than Worthy. Like they're speedsters, but Tyquan is actually one of the taller receivers. He is 6'2", so he is a little lengthier, which is why I think he'd be that deep ball. We saw glimpses of it last year, right? I mean, I think he averaged over 19 yards a catch. Problem was he didn't get a lot of snaps and a lot of targets. So, he's the big speedster or the tall speedster to Worthy's more like smaller, shiftier, gadget type guy. And then you just have Rashee Rice, who, Lord help us all, hope he stays healthy, out of trouble and everything. And he's kind of that middle of the field guy who could take some hits and get some yak with some broken tackles and stuff. So they all pretty similar, but they all are also a little different. So like I said, I do think it's a great complement of receivers, but each one have had their issues, right? Tyquan can't get snaps. Rashee Rice, we know about him. And then Worthy played with what was like the broken like clavicle, shoulder, whatever last year. So they limited his route tree because of it. So, this is year 3 with Worthy. So far, Rashee Rice is expected to actually be available week 1. So who knows? Like I said, I do think some potential is there, but I still think there's so many question marks about availability, about what each one can actually bring together. Because we saw Juju get a lot of snaps while he was there, and some of these older vets mix in. So the potential's there, but it's not enough for me to say I'm going into a season confident with the room.
All right. All right. So let's move on over to the Chargers receiving room. Ethan, give us a breakdown of your guys' receiving room and then what they need to improve on.
I think this will be the most controversial receiving room we talk about, just because, it's controversial within the Chargers fan base as well. A lot of people have a lot of.
That's weird to say with Rashee Rice in the division. So
I know. But that's controversial for a different reason. What I mean is like evaluation wise, I feel like the Chargers receiving room, like some people feel that it really needs like a true wide receiver 1, and then there's some who will die on the hill that it doesn't. I will tell you some predictions later. I'll just get it out of the way. I believe it doesn't, and I'll talk about the Chargers receiving room now. So it's made of 6 real guys. It's a question if the 6th will make the team. It'll be based on special teams. But so we have Ladd McConkey, who is the prototypical wide receiver 1 of this group. He had over 1,000 yards his rookie year, 82 receptions, 7 touchdowns. Last year, he had a little bit of a dip. I can talk about it a little bit if we want to talk about the Keenan Allen thing, but just so everyone knows, the Chargers will not be re-signing Keenan Allen. No matter what fans say, they're not going to re-sign him. Him and Ladd are just too redundant, especially in a Mike McDaniels offense. Mike McDaniels is all about yak ability, and Keenan basically does not provide that at this point. There were plenty of plays where he'd catch the ball on 3rd down and then just slide to the ground or give up. He's a really good player. I don't want to take anything away from Keenan Allen. He's just 34. He basically does one thing. He does it really well. If a team's looking for a guy to move the chains, he's a fantastic option. It's just you can't have him. He had 81 catches last year. You can't take 81 balls away from the rest of this group.
Right.
Next is QJ. Quentin Johnston, who is has become one of the most like overhated players in the entire league, but then also by others, some of the most underappreciated player in the league, depending on who you talk to. From like a zoomed out standpoint, if you take out the emotion of he's a 1st-round pick, he should be better, he should have been the missing piece, all this kind of thing, he's gotten better every single year. Every single year, he's had more receptions. He's had more yards. He tied his touchdown total, which in the last 2 seasons, he had 16 touchdowns. The dude is really good in the red zone. Last year, he had 535 yards. And I just think QJ is a good player. Now, he's not ever going to be that alpha receiver people believe because they see the 6'4" frame, and I think they assume he's going to turn into like A.J. Brown. That's not the player that he is. And people cannot lose that. Like, they cannot take him for what he actually is. He is a good player who can make good plays down the deep part of the field. What he's best at is with the ball in his hands. He makes some really good moves. Again, his most famous play of his entire football career was in the semifinals against Michigan, where he took a slant 65 yards to the house. That's what QJ is good at. Whether you want to call that the highlight, like that's who QJ truly is. He's a long stride receiver who's not running like a 4.3. He's running a 4.55, but he has deceptive speed and he's good with the ball in his hands. Trey Harris is the young emerging player, basically in Greg Roman's offense, who became a tight end. He was essentially just a blocker the entire year. He had 30 receptions, 324 yards. He had 1 touchdown. This is the guy that everyone expects to take a step, and I named him our breakout player. As I went through this, I don't think that to be true anymore, and I'll talk about it later. KLS, which you guys might know the name of. All Charger fans hype him up. He's your preseason MVP kind of guy.
Yep.
He had a really good preseason, made some great catches in training camp, and then was basically non-existent during the regular season, like every other single player that was drafted in the 5th round that everyone hypes up. I'm not saying he's not going to be a good player. He had 5 receptions, 51 yards, and 1 touchdown, and he had 3 penalties, and he played like a total of 100 snaps. So, like, these are things to keep in mind, especially when you see Charger fans, like, touting him as, like, he should be in the top 3. There's a reason he's not. And then there's the draft pick, Brennan Thompson. Brennan Thompson at Mississippi State had 57 receptions, 154 yards, and 6 touchdowns. This is not your typical just long stride receiver. He's actually really good in this yak opportunities, which is why Mike McDaniels hired him. So, some strengths of the group. It's super diverse across the board. They're all different makes and models. They're all have different abilities. They all contribute something that you need. They have a ton of youth. All of these players are on rookie deals. Not one of them isn't. So that gives you an extreme advantage. Now, QJ got the 5th-year option, but he's going into his 4th year. There is a lot of yak potential here as well. Almost all of these players have the abilities after the catch to stride it, which is what Joe Ortiz is looking for. I mean, if you look at how the Ravens construct their receiving cores, it's the same kind of idea. And then last, quick game should really help. Mike McDaniel's calling card is being able to get the ball as quick as possible. We talked about it with Herbert's footwork. That should help all of these players because just like look at the Andy Reid offense, for instance. They get that ball out so quick. While a lot of those players can't get open in the immediate part of the field, they eat up yards because they're throwing so much short and allowing them to make plays, especially with the speed that they have. Now, weaknesses. There's really no top-end talent here. Ladd is your closest thing to a top 10 player, but if you're ranking players, he's probably right around 20. You don't really have a top-end alpha guy. And there's just a lot of question marks. They're all so young that some of these guys can take steps and some of them can take steps back. Ladd took a step back from year 1 to year 2. QJ has improved every single year. They could take another step back. You never really know. Trey Harris, everyone expects to be better because he was running the ball, but you don't actually know if that's going to happen. Hey, Mike, how you doing? And then Brennan Thompson, you expect to be like this long strider, but you don't know what it's going to look like until he hits the field and if Justin Herbert is going to have rapport with him. So before I end and open the floor to you guys for your guys' thoughts, I have 2 predictions I want to make. Number 1, and this can be one of our clips. I think QJ finally emerges as the player that people believe him to be. And what I mean by that is I think at the end of the season, he's going to be earning a 3-year, $75 million contract. Now, I'm not saying from a potential of like he's going to become A.J. Brown, but I think he will end up getting paid. I think people will look at the touchdown numbers, the red zone numbers, the improvement he's had every other year, and either the Chargers or another team will decide that he is a project that they think can become a really good player. So my prediction is I think he will become a top 20 paid receiver in the league. Second, I think Ladd has over 100 catches. I think in the Mike McDaniel system, I think they're going to spam him a lot more than they used to. They're going to take Keenan Allen, isn't going to be on the team, which is going to help Ladd again because he's going to play in the slot, which is going to allow QJ and Trey Harris to be on the X and Y. And so I think Ladd will end up with 100 catches. And then last one, I think Trey Harris will be disappointed to Charger fans for where they think he is. I think he will have a good season. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed, and I just don't see the volume there. If QJ takes another step and Ladd takes the step that people believe him to be, there's not enough volume for Trey Harris really to have like an 800-yard season. So I'll open up the floor to you guys. Those are my predictions. That's my breakdown of the Chargers receiving room.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I do agree with you. I do think Mike McDaniel is going to make a big difference with this group. And I think Ladd McConkey is actually going to be the guy that feasts most off of this because I think he has that quick quick ability to get open. Now, the second part of that, and I think this is going to be huge if QJ does in fact take that next step, he's going to have to be that deep guy, right? So you're going to have to get all those short routes that are, the stick, and then maybe you get him with the slant, go those types of routes. But I think one thing, and we'll talk about it next week with the tight ends groups, I think that's who this is going to benefit the most. And I think, and without getting too deep into what the tight ends are doing, I do think some of the tight ends are going to have a say in this Mike McDaniel offense, just based on what we were able to see with some of those groups that he had with the Dolphins last year. But I think Vlad McConkey can be that 100 catch guy, and I don't think it really shouldn't surprise people if he is in fact that, because you got to look, and we'll break down more of the quick hits. And we talked about it on the TikTok live the other night because someone was making fun of Justin Herbert's footwork for some weird reason.
Yeah.
But I think people are going to be very surprised about how many quick 1-step, 2-step, get it out real quick. Like, that's how quick this offense is going to be. You're going to see a lot of this, and I think Vlad McConkey is going to be that guy.
I think my biggest question is with QJ is, and you mentioned it, he was drafted in the first round, and I guess I expected him to have more of a season where he's getting closer to 1,000-yard season. Maybe this is that season he does it. But then Trey Harris kind of reminds me of a similar build, I suppose, to QJ. But I mean, a lot of what you said is if Vlad, it seems like if Vlad gets the target shares that Keenan was eating up when he was on the team, I think this one changes the dynamic of the offense, not only in the passing scheme, but in the run scheme too. Because once you have defenses off balance when it comes to going over the top, you have a third down guy, or you can just give it to one of your shifty backs, it's really going to make it very difficult for defenses to keep up. And because you guys added speed essentially to the team with Keaton Mitchell, and again, QJ, as you mentioned, he's kind of the guy that goes over the top. It's going to be really hard for defenses to find balance in stopping one part. And again, like Corey said, we haven't even talked about the tight ends. I guess I'm curious on, like, and you pointed this out at the top of your portion here, Charger fans are really extreme with QJ, either positive or negative. And I guess, like, what are the Chargers hoping that QJ turns into? Because I mean, there are games where like he's great, and then there's other games where, and I don't know if it's play call or not, where he's kind of absent. So I guess that's where I wonder what QJ will turn into with the value of the pick that he was drafted at.
I mean, it's a great question, because even if you look back at last year, QJ through the first 4 weeks had 400 yards receiving. He ended the season with 735. So across the whole end of the year, he didn't even match what he did in the beginning of the season. Now, this is also before they started leaning into some of these younger players and the emergence of Verondé Gadsden. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, like, I think the Trey Harris hype has to be died down a little bit, because there's not enough mouths to feed in this offense at some point. Like, QJ almost from a route standpoint has to be the deep guy, because Lad's going to catch everything that's underneath. And the ball is going to go to him on screens. It's going to go to him in all RPOs. He's going to be a nightmare out of the nickel. It's just a question of what does that end up looking like. And so I think from a Chargers perspective, they truly believe this guy can be a wide receiver one. I think they would have given up on him because every fan had given up on him after year one, after year two. Most fans didn't want him to pick up his fifth year option, which, by the way, is a fantastic deal when you look at wide receiver money now. I mean, $18 million for one more year of QJ. I mean, even at 750 yards and 8 touchdowns, you're going to, with Christian Watson getting $27 million, like, you're going to pay it any day.
Well, and wasn't Brandon Ayuk's number like around the same neighborhood too? And I mean, he's not, I wouldn't want a Brandon Ayuk as opposed to a QJ with how everything's unfolding.
I mean, I would take, if we're talking about non-weirdo, I would take Brandon Ayuk over QJ. But if we're talking about weirdo, just like
you got to accept everything that comes with that individual. You can't just exit one. You got to take it all in. So,
yeah.
I think this room is going to be really good. I think it's going to be better than people expect. And I guess we'll talk about it with the tight ends, and we talked about it with the running backs. It's really hard to like put down production for these groups because they have so many mouths. This is a team that is like, they don't have like they have a couple like big star players, but they have so many above average players, which fills out their roster. And so it makes it hard to like guess. And this is why I said, and I guess I can say this now, I would stay away from Charger players not named Amari and Hampton in fantasy, because I think it's going to be really hard to judge week to week who's going to do well. Ladd is going to be good for PPR. It's just a question of outside of formats like that, if he's going to be good.
Yeah, no, I agree. Austin, do you have anything to add to it before we move on to the next team?
No, I think it was covered pretty well. I actually think the least likely of your predictions was the Ladd getting 100 catches. And I only say that because of the amount of mouths to feed. And Mike McDaniels, everything starts with the run game. So they're still going to have a very large impact in the run game, plus the 3 tight ends. I do think they're going to have different receivers playing in and out. So I think, and I'm not saying it's not likely, I just think the least likely of your predictions was the Ladd with the 100 catches.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And again, I kind of, to a certain extent, I was talking myself out of it the more that I talked. So
but you're spot on, because like, what was Mike Williams' contract? Because I think that would be a pretty decent comp for like QJ going into a contract.
Funny enough, his first contract out of his rookie deal, which made Charger fans so mad, is he became the 3rd highest paid receiver in the league.
Okay, I'm not saying that value. Actually meant actual.
He got a 3-year, $60 million, but it was one of those exactly like the Christian Watson deal, where it was like only $25 million was guaranteed. So it was like the number looked really big, but he was cut after a season after signing it. I mean, he only played for the Chargers for 7 years, I think. 7 or 8.
But I feel like that's a comparable comp. Like Mike Williams was kind of that deep guy, kind of quick slant yak guy. And I was like, I think obviously a little different, but I thought that would be a fair comp.
No, it definitely is. And this is from a take perspective. And I said this all the way back in the day when he was playing. Mike Williams is one of my least favorite Chargers. And I know he's a lot of people's favorite, but he really bugged me because every single time he'd make one of those highlight catches, he was always hurt afterwards. He would like make these crazy one-handed catches and then immediately go for his back. He was always absent in big games, and he was like such a highlight reel, but it was so frustrating because like another one, he didn't play in the Jacksonville comeback game. Like he was hurt. And then last year he retired before training, like on the first day of training camp, and just didn't show up.
Amari Cooper did the same thing for the Raiders. So I remember that. Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I mean, after how the season turned out. Actually, let's get a segue perfectly into the Raiders topic real quick. So I don't have a whole lot to go over the Raiders receivers because literally Brock Bowers led the team. Trey Turner led the team, but only by like 20 yards. And then it was Brock Bowers. So ultimately, there is not a clear number one. And Ethan, in your perspective, from what you mentioned, is you don't think you can see that teams functions without having an alpha receiver that is the game plan and all that stuff. And very similar to Austin, the Chiefs don't really have a number one. Like maybe you can make the argument for Rice, but not necessarily like an old school, like anyone that has like a Megatron equivalent to like a number one on their team. The Raiders have none of that. We have a bunch of threes on major rosters that we're going to have to ask to be 2s and 1s right now. Trey Tucker, though, is a very interesting one in this Clint Kubiak offense. I can see him being very productive he may get somewhere between like 70 to 80 catches. He may be getting close to 1,000 yards because he's not going to be something that you're going to go over the top. We do have Dante Thornton Jr. who can do that. We do have some other receivers that can also serve in the roles of like being a speedster. Trey Turner, though, could just be a guy that gets open. Maybe the Ladd Conkey thing or a Wes Welker style of wide receiver to where he's just going to get a bunch of receptions in between 7 to 8 yards and then hopefully get some yards after catch. But what's difficult about the Raiders receiving room is the offense last year was so bad under Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, that the jury's out on a Jack Besh, who is my hopefully my breakout player that I've named. Also, Dante Thornton Jr. There was a lot of hype on him in camp last year, and he barely got, I think, 20 catches for the entire season. We ended up trading Jacoby Myers to the Jaguars, who went on a tear, who we're foreshadowing because we'll talk about the AFC South later on in the show. But for the Raiders, in the most part, they didn't have a great offense and really relied on Ashton Genty in the pass game and Brock Bowers. I mean, really, Trey Turner had one big game against the Commanders, and that was in a blowout. He had 3 touchdowns, but that was because the Raiders were getting blown out. I think it was like 40-20 something. So it's like not even a game to really compare of like what the Raiders offense can do. So I do trust that Clint Kubiak and the coaching staff can get this more refined. I don't have an alpha that I can think of other than Trey Turner has been in this one, or Trey Tucker has been in this one the longest. I will say, though, what makes this interesting is the improvement is hard to point out because we need to just see that they're a proven room. I can't even say like who needs to do better. They need to just prove that they can play in the NFL in a Sunday and compete with major defenses like the Chargers, like the Broncos, like the Chiefs that they're going to have to see twice a year. I will say, though, this kind of brings me to my last point before I wrap it up. I think the Raiders do need to seriously entertain and seriously consider signing Stephon Diggs. And I think that is just because we need a guy who, one, Clint Kubiak trusts with this offense in terms of receiving, and Kirk Cousins has a rapport with. And also Stephon Diggs is a guy that will draw defenses and hopefully give easier looks to a Jack Besh, a Dante Thornton Jr., or a Trey Tucker. And the reason why is because we don't know if they can handle the workload that is going to be required of, like, can Turner be 100-catch, 1,000-yard receiver? We don't know. Is Besh going to make it in the NFL in year 2? We don't know. But if we had a Stephon Diggs that we can hopefully give defenses to really kind of focus on, and again, he's not a guy that's going to get, 1,500 yards. He's probably going to be very similar to what he was in New England. But I think that's what the Raiders should do to improve this receiving room. And that's really the only note I have in terms of improvement, because I don't know what Jack Besh needs to improve on, because he only saw the field for a handful of snaps. Same thing with Dante Thornton Jr. And Trey Tucker didn't even crack 700 receiving yards. So this Raiders receiving room is the biggest question mark of any position that we have, I'll say, outside of offensive line. So the Raiders are kind of in an interesting position where we need to see what this offensive does with Clint Kubiak. And I didn't group Bowers into this because Bowers is going to get his, and we'll talk about him next week. But this receiving room is a big, like, the Raiders offense. If this room doesn't hit, this offense is going to sink really, really fast. So that's the Raiders receiving room in a nutshell.
You didn't even bring up the receiver that's probably going to get the most targets in this offense.
Jalen Naylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he probably will, but I can also see him being one of those guys that gets lost between trying to get... That dude was a third receiver on a Vikings team, and he still was out there outperforming Jordan Addison a lot. Sure.
And Jordan Addison was their number 2, so that he's going to fit in with this offense. And I promise you they will take Jalen Naylor over Jack Besh any day of the week.
Well, they paid him to not get lost.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think, what was it?
Like 3 for like 30 some million.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really good payday for him, considering Naylor was a third,
if there was
number 3 receiver.
Outside of Brock Bowers, who you said we'll talk next week, if there was a receiver on your team right now that could get 1,000 yards, it would be Naylor, because he has that versatility. He has the deep threat ability that Tucker brings as well. I think he's more polished, more apt with what the system is, because Kevin O'Connell and Clint Kubiak obviously run similar styles. So it's going to be, I look at Naylor and hey, I mean, if the Raiders want to forget about him, that's fine with me too. I mean, they spent a shit ton of money on this guy. So I would be very disappointed if anything under 800 yards from that guy.
Yeah. In addition to, like, I also think what's interesting, and Austin pointed this out, that Malik Benson could be an interesting receiver in this group as well, where, like, he could be really good in the special teams, if not, Tucker, but also, like, because of his versatility, he could be on the field a lot more, and he could be relied on a lot. And regardless of him being a 6th-round pick, he could be a guy that is featured in this offense just because he's able to do what Clint Kubiak does. there is no receiver nearly as talented as JSN as Clint Kubiak had last season. So he's going to have to just kind of fill guys in that could do certain routes on these plays that he's going to kind of conjure up. And then, of course, like once that offense kind of gets in rhythm in some form or fashion, regardless of the quarterback, then it'll open up the other avenues. But I think Benson is another receiver that I wonder if he'll actually get more snaps than like a Thornton or a Besh, just because he's very versatile.
It's not a hot take, but I don't think Jack Besh is going to be on your roster.
I would not be
going to make the team.
I think he'll make the team. I don't know if he'll be around it for like his 5th year pickup, like for that extension. And again, we have no idea.
Wait, can we, you don't think he's going to make this roster this year?
He's not good.
Jack Besh?
Yeah. I mean, he was a 2nd round pick. They're not cutting him.
Yeah. I mean, the Raiders aren't going to cut him. I'm making that very clear. I don't think they're letting him go from this team.
There's no way.
Yeah.
That was this GM.
It's new regime, new coaching staff.
He's just not good.
I mean, he's 2nd round pick. I mean, barely touched the field last year on a team that's way worse now. I think.
But they have like no receivers. Like, I mean, if we were talking about any of the other teams, maybe there's no way they're cutting him.
And another thing too, with last year's Raiders,
he wouldn't be like a practice squad, like an inactive. He could be one of those where he still makes the roster and he's an inactive on Sunday.
Oh, that might be true. But I don't think he's not making the 53-man roster.
Right. Another thing too with this Raiders team last year with Pete Carroll and having his son as offensive coordinator or offensive line coach and Chip Kelly is for some reason they just did not play their rookies. Like Thornton, who should have seen the field a lot more. I think he had like 193 receiving yards in total. Besh had barely 200. Ashton Jeanty was the only rookie that saw an exceptional amount of field time. And that was because there was no other running back that could really fill the role that Jeanty was doing. And so, of course, Chip Kelly's just going to feed him the ball. But later on in the season, obviously, when I think Pete Carroll kind of saw that the writing was on the wall for him, he allowed Greg Olsen to then start putting in the rookie O-linemen and kind of get them some reps. And then Darren Porton Jr., I know it's different positions, but my point being is they were allowing the rookies to see the field a lot more to get them that experience. But for some reason, Pete Carroll and that regime, when they invested high draft picks in these guys, they did not do what they should have done to get them acclimated to the game. In my opinion, I don't think that it's difficult to give the opinion of like, oh, they're not good from last season because they didn't get an opportunity to go on the field to even perform like for a large portion of the season. They were kind of renegated to the bench for a large portion of that season. So that's why I say like jury's still out. Besh may or may not work, but I think that he will turn out better now under this offense.
That's fair.
All right, Corey, the Broncos, give it to us.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I think the strength is the depth now. We've built in some depth. This is going to be a very, very, very interesting positional battle as we head into training camp. There's going to be an odd man out. It's just trying to figure out which one of those guys it's going to be. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin seem to be the hot topic right now, which would leave Waddle, Sutton, Pat Bryant. So then you're going to add one of those guys. And a lot of people are saying that, you keep Marvin Mims this season and roll with all of them. So I love the depth. And if you guys remember after the season, I said I love the receiver room. That was before we acquired Jalen Waddle. But obviously you can't be second in the league and drop passes with, I believe, 43. And expect to win games. And luckily we were able to win 14 of them, but the crucial drops, absolutely just back-breaking drops, and that's why we led the NFL in punts. So again, you got to be able to cut that number in half. You got a new receiver coach, so Sean Payton obviously knew that needed to be an area that was that needed corrected. And then you go out and you make the move for a guy like Jalen Waddle, who I think is going to be it for the Broncos. I think that was the missing piece to open up this offense a little bit more. It's going to help those other receivers. You're going to have Cortland Sutton on the outside. I still go back to Jalen Waddle's going to be all over the field, backfield, slot, outside. I mean, he's going to be everywhere. Obviously, the biggest improvement is the drops. Those were crucial. I mean, it's 3rd down and 5, 3rd and 6, and you get open. Cortland Sutton had no issues getting open. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, those guys had no issues getting open. It's just the drops. Ethan posted was it in our group chat or in a video of the drops, and Evan Ingram and Cortland Sutton were both on that. I think it was a top 10, right? Or was it a top 15?
No, it was because I was responding to people saying Evan Ingram doesn't have a drop problem, and so I just went and looked it up.
Yeah, so you had Cortland Sutton and Evan Ingram both on that list with 9 and 8, I think is what it was.
They were both in the top 10.
So there you have it. That's 17 of your 43 drops right there. So, and again, it wasn't just the receivers. The tight ends had a big issue with it as well. And we'll talk about that group next week. But I think my biggest thing with this group is I do think there's 2 receivers that are capable of getting 1,000 yards in this offense if it's ran correctly. I think Jalen Waddle can be a 1,000-yard receiver. Cortland Sutton obviously was the only 1,000-yard receiver in the West last season, and take away those drops and he would have had a little bit more than that. So I do think two receivers. I think I'll go ahead and say it. I think the hot take would be I think Jalen Waddle and Cortland Sutton both have over 1,000 yards receiving this season, and I think this takes the group to the next level.
All right, let's go over to talking about who has the best room out of the AFC West. So, Ethan, I'll give it to you. What AFC West team has the best wide receiver room?
I think it's Denver. I think Denver has the most high-end talent, and they probably have the most rounded room.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think it's a situation where we talked about last week, where it's like I think Denver has the best room, but I think the Chargers, depending on how some of these young players end up performing, like production-wise, I think they could be just as good. But I think from a skill perspective, a stars perspective, I think Denver is by far the best.
All right. Austin?
Yeah, I think it's Denver, and I don't think there's a close second in the division at all.
I'll say I think it's also Denver, and a lot of it, too, is last season, or at least before the Waddle trade, I thought Denver had a solid wide receiver room, and having an extra year just made that better with Bo Nix kind of improving also. But you add Waddle, who now is like the number 1 receiver in the AFC West. This room's hard to beat. I would say, though, and again, to Ethan's point about depending on how the Chargers offense is, I think the Chargers receiving room is a very interesting room, very similar to the running back room. It's like boom or bust in the circumstances. And I would not be surprised if like the Chargers and Broncos wide receiver room are like neck and neck throughout the season. But in my opinion, over the top Broncos right now. And then Corey, wrap up the segment.
Yeah. And again, I do think it's Denver. Now, I won't say there's not a close second. But I also do want to say sneaky. Chargers are obviously next after the Broncos, but the Chiefs receivers are a little dangerous if they click and if they get it figured out with and you got a new coach. So I wouldn't look past these Chiefs receivers as well.
I put a note in here that said, if the Chiefs do sign Tyreek Hill, I think that makes their receiving room a little bit more interesting because like teams might respect Tyreek Hill, that it opens up for other players to be effective. And I think Andy Reid is a smart enough offensive head coach to make that happen. That's why I thought if Tyreek Hill came back to the Chiefs, it might be a very interesting dynamic to the offense.
I don't think it makes him the best receiver room, though.
Not best, just interesting.
Maybe 3 years ago, maybe, but
sure.
Tyreek now, I mean, we just don't know with that injury.
I think the only thing that can really take the Chiefs into even talking about being in the tier with the Broncos, well, I guess if we're all throwing Chargers in there, is that Tyquan Thornton's actually used. I mean, he had almost 500 yards on just 19 catches last year. So I think he would be that dynamic piece. I'm not saying Tyreek-like numbers, but he put up like 430-something or 40-something yards on 19 catches. If he actually gets a larger target share, converts kind of the same rate, and brings that added dynamic back, like when you actually had to worry about Tyreek, I think that's what would make it kind of interesting. But Tyreek would help the Chiefs, but I don't think it moves their the needle as far as overall room at all. I mean, at that point, it bumps people down somewhere, which would again add depth. But Tyreek would help, but it wouldn't change receiver room positioning.
Yeah, I think the Broncos receiving room talent-wise it's kind of a ways above, but I'm just saying I think with Andy Reid's offensive mind, it would be interesting. All right, let's move on now to AFC and NFC South division. So Corey, I'm going to kick it off with you. This is kind of a make or break season for CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans out of the AFC South. So give us your thoughts on the Stroud and his season coming up.
Yeah. So this is a guy who, we thought may have been the real thing. The first, I think it was his rookie season, may have been the real deal, regressed, cost that defense a legit shot at a Super Bowl last year. If you guys go back and watch that New England game, when the defense won the game, but their offense obviously lost the game for them. This is a huge deal. This is massive. I think that I'm not sitting here saying the Texans are going to get rid of him. I just think that he's playing his way out of the contract he thinks he's going to get. Again, I think this is the make or break season, and I don't know if he's got it in him. So,
do you think then, because I don't remember if he has a contract extension already or not. I think this is the year to get one, right?
This would be his first off season that he could get it.
Okay, yep. So then, are you saying then he doesn't get an extension, or?
Yeah, I'll say he'll get the extension. I just don't think they're going to make him one of the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks.
All right.
Can I ask though, why would he agree to that? Why wouldn't he just wait another year?
I mean, he could.
And he might.
Just get franchise tagged and just wait.
That's what I'm saying. Realistically, why would he agree to anything less than highest paid quarterback in the league? Because if he hits free agency, some team will probably pay him. Because
the Browns will pay any quarterback right now.
Well, I'm saying you'd have to evaluate. Would he rather just take a good large amount of money to remain with a really good Texans defense? Or are you going to take a lot of money and just go rot in Cleveland? I mean, there's balances to it, but I think he would at least test the market and always know that he could come back to the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, we can go down this rabbit hole. CJ Stroud's not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
No one's making that argument. No,
he's barely a top 15 quarterback at this point in time.
But he's lucky to be there.
Not.
Yeah. And here's some interesting things. So obviously, throughout his career, he's just a shade under 64% completion. In terms of passer rating, he's about 93.5. In the playoffs, though, both of those statistics dip pretty bad. But in 2025, it's probably his worst playoff performance, where he only completed less than 52% in 2025 in terms of, 52% in terms of completion percentage in 2025 playoffs, and also his passer rating went down to just under 52 as well. And again, I think if I'm not mistaken, the first playoff matchup he wins, and then the second one, which was against Patriots, he absolutely just kind of gave them that game away. And when you have a player like CJ Stroud, what Houston has to think about is you have probably a Super Bowl winning defense, but you've got a guy that is the epitome of a game manager. He is 3-3 in the playoffs. Every season he's helped the Houston Texans get to the playoffs for better, for worse, but he's not elevating the talent around him to get beyond divisional round or whatever the next thing is. He's kind of their ceiling, if that makes any sense. He's not helping them achieve more, but he's not doing anything to get them beyond himself. So I think that's the thing that Houston has to think about when it comes to Stroud is you got a guy that'll maybe get you to the playoffs to give a chance, but that's as far as you'll go. And is that what they're willing to do for the next 4 or 5 seasons, depending on whatever the length of this extension is for Stroud?
Can I disagree with you, Cody? I actually think Houston would want him to be a game manager. I think the issue is he's not. Yeah. He takes way too many risks. That's his issue, is he's trying to be like the really flashy player he was his rookie year, but he doesn't read the field well at all. And so he throws the ball into harm's way constantly.
Well, and that could just be that he's maybe an overrated quarterback than what we thought he was his rookie year. Rookie year, I think 4,000 yards. Ever since then, he's barely touched. I think the most he's had was year 2. After that, at 3,700, I think was the top end of that.
Well, yeah, last year too. So and then Davis Mills is the reason they made it to the postseason last year, because he came in and did what they needed him to do, game managed, and didn't put your defense in a poopy situation. And look, they went 5-0 with Davis Mills as their starting quarterback in that stretch last year. So again, yeah, I 100% agree with Ethan. They need him to be that game manager. And I think the only thing that I will say for CJ is he's had a different OC pretty much every season. I think he had one season where he had back-to-back, but I think that offensive coordinator got fired after the second season. Hot candidate to be a head coach, and then you're fired the next season. So, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of football.
He hasn't been the same since Tank Dell, honestly.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
That's the receiver I wanted Chiefs to draft. He came out and balled with Stroud that rookie year. Stroud started the next year okay, and then that gruesome injury against the Chiefs, and Stroud just hasn't been the same since.
He also said that thing to Caleb Williams, which was also the end of his career.
Also, yeah.
Gotta watch.
What did he say?
He basically went up to him post game and was like, "It'll get easier" or something like that.
It did for Caleb Williams, kind of, not for CJ.
Yeah, I think
if you put Caleb Williams on the Texans, they're a Super Bowl team last year.
They win the Super Bowl last year.
You could put a lot of players on that team and they would have won a Super Bowl. Honestly, if they had, I think the Texans are begging CJ Stroud to just be like Brock Purdy.
Dude, not even that. Just be Trent Dilfer.
Well, right now he's kind of playing like that.
Well, I just meant
Trent Dilfer didn't turn over the ball though. The issue with CJ Stroud is he turns over the ball so much, which is the one thing of their defense. They're gonna get stops, but if you're putting them on the 20-yard line,
be like the early career Alex Smith, where it was 20 touchdowns and 5 turnovers.
Yeah, no touchdowns to receivers.
No touchdowns to receivers.
Yeah, well, that was with Chiefs. I meant with the Niners.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean when Harbaugh took over?
Yeah. Legitimately, where Alex Smith was a game manager for that run game and that stacked defense of Patrick Willis and stuff.
Yeah.
Harbaugh and all those guys.
Yeah, so just be like that. I don't care if you throw 6,000 yards. That defense might be the best defense we've seen in a while. And CJ Stroud is literally preventing them from doing anything in the playoffs.
Go ahead, Cody.
I was going to say I'm kind of thankful now that Houston and Seattle didn't meet in the Super Bowl. It would have been the most boring Super Bowl because it had been nothing but defenses and not a single point scored the entire game. It had been boring.
Now we go into who I think is going to be a sleeping defense this year that could be really good.
All right,
the Titans.
Yeah. I mean, they made a huge addition in getting Robert Saleh, obviously signing Brian Daboll as their offensive coordinator and drafting a lot of help. So, Ethan, I'll go with you. Are the Titans sleepers in this division?
As in that they could conceivably win the division? Is that the question?
I think that's what's being posed, yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Jacksonville is very good. Indianapolis will come back with Daniel Jones. Houston is probably one of the best defenses of the last 10 years. I don't really, but I'm also the wrong person to ask because I don't believe in Cam Ward. I do not think Cam Ward will develop into a good player just because to me, it's they fell in love with the arm talent and the decision-making in the poise in the pocket just isn't there. And I don't think Brian Daboll is going to help that. Brian Daboll is very good at scheming up explosive play offenses. And I just don't see Cam Ward being able to read the field in the way that's going to be asked of him. But we'll see. I mean, everyone's being he turned around Josh Allen, but then he could not figure out Daniel Jones. And then Daniel Jones left and became a good player. I don't believe in Tennessee, but it sounds like Corey does. So I'll let him have the floor.
No, I mean, I think Titans win the division.
I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to win the division. I do think their defense is good enough to win them games that they didn't win last year. And I think we go back to the game manager thing. I think Brian Daboll's smart enough to where he can get Cam Ward to take care of the football, use the running game, use the running attack. Obviously, they have Cardell Tate now as receiver, so Wan'Dale Robinson's there, Gunnar Helm. So I think you're asking Cam Ward to just not cost you games, and I think this defense, I think they did enough as far as what they brought in with Johnson, JFM, drafting Anthony Hill, revamping up their secondary. And I think Robert Saleh is one of the better deep coordinators in the NFL, as now he's their head coach, but he's still going to have control of that defense. So I don't know if I'd say the Titans would win the division, but I mean, I think they could be a sleeper type where you could see them maybe take that step in the right direction and maybe surprise some teams. But yeah, I mean, I still think it's the Texans, honestly, that come out of this division.
I mean, the Titans, are they going to be better than 3 wins? I think so, but I think it's going to be because of the defense. I think I have a lot of question marks on how this offense is going to gel with all the new pieces, and Brian Daboll's going to be putting in his system. And I don't have as strong of opinion about Cam Ward as Ethan does. I don't know. I mean, he played okay as a rookie. I mean, it's kind of a tough draw that he got with having Brian Callahan as his, or whatever the head coach was. I got fired. Yeah. Okay.
And then Mike McCoy.
Right. Yep. And then having now Brian Daboll, who, did help Josh Allen's career. I don't necessarily think they're the same player, so that might be a little bit different. But I think there's more options and more help around him. I just, I don't know if the Titans are there yet. I think their defense is going to be electric. I think they have a lot of pieces. They're going to look fast, and they're going to look very, very, very strong up front. Just that offense, I might be turnover prone with what they have. They don't even have a true running back. I know they have Tony Pollard, but I don't know if that's going to help in the run game very much. So they just still have a lot of pieces that they need to do offensively. And usually it's going to take about a year to install a system to even get Cam Ward comfortable. And who knows, what if Brian Daboll coaches well enough to where he gets another opportunity somewhere else? I think that's one of the tough things about the NFL is their coordinator turnover is like so much higher than it used to be. You don't get like 2 or 3 seasons with the same coordinator anymore. It's like 1, maybe 2 seasons if you're lucky. And then that's about it. Then it's just, unlike the Chiefs, they still have the same coordinators from like 10 years ago. But for the most part, like, I think that makes it tough for a young quarterback to settle into a system.
Well, first of all, throw some respect on Tony Pollard's name is what you're going to do.
Okay. I mean, he's
had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Okay. I don't know if that's enough offensively for what he'll have to do. Okay.
Respect Tony Pollard. He's so underappreciated and underrated. I have him almost every year in fantasy football, so I know about him, but I don't know. I mean, we mentioned it earlier, like if Davis Mills didn't go 5-0 in that stretch, Texans aren't making the playoffs. Like, I don't know. I believe so little in CJ Stroud that, I think the division is up for grabs. The Jags lost a lot of key pieces.
I mean, they won 14 games though. Like, it's tough to just discard. Like, we haven't even talked about them. They won 14 games last year, and Travis Hunter was hurt half the season.
Right.
Well, I'm not a Travis Hunter believer anyway.
Jacksonville won 14 games last year.
They went 13 and 13.
I was off by 1. They won 13.
Yeah, that's fine.
They won 13 games. Holy
13,
shit.
yeah. Well, they swept the AFC West, which was ironic. So,
well, I mean, we can also look at the pieces they've lost too. So,
yeah, Travis Etienne's a pretty big loss.
And I think that was a flash in the pan, like before, like halfway through, or not halfway through last year, but after the couple first games, Trevor Lawrence finally seemed like a competent quarterback. But
I can't trust that. I don't know.
I don't either. Like, I don't trust any quarterback in that division. I probably trust
Liam Coen
the least.
I think Liam Cohen's like one of the best play callers in the entire league. I don't know. I think that coaching is so good offensively. Like, it doesn't matter who's playing in that scheme. I think that scheme is top notch.
Who plays in the scheme does matter. I mean, look at Mike McDaniel. He was trash with the Dolphins after.
Yeah, but his offense was still really good, and they had across the board not good players. I mean, Tua was one of the most controversial quarterbacks in the league for 5 years. Mike McDaniel's made that guy in the conversations every single year that he's with Herbert and those other guys. I don't know.
It was like Quinn Ewers and stuff. It was trash. So I'm like, it does matter who plays in the system. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to throw anyone in there and it'll be good. Like, Liam Coen is good, but they also lost a lot.
Kyle Shanahan that scheme does a lot of heavy lifting for the Niners, and they can basically insert anyone into that. And I mean, look at how good Mac Jones was last year.
It's a complete, it does. But I also think the 49ers still have a crap ton of talent.
Not at that point. I mean, all of their players were injured. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I believe in schematics more, but I think scheme
it's a combination for sure.
I'll say I think Liam Coen is a good good play caller. I don't know if the Jaguars are going to repeat 13 wins. It's hard to duplicate. Do I think like maybe 10 to 11? I think they can do that again, but I also think that their schedule is slightly harder than what they had last year. That after week 7, they went like 9-1 in the last 10 games. Now, granted, they beat a bunch of playoff teams, but they also, some of the teams that they beat were like the Jets, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Titans. They weren't really going anywhere. And I mean, the 2 games that they won and kind of did more, which was Broncos and Chargers. And I don't know if the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, and maybe this is because I don't trust Trevor Lawrence, I just don't know if they're going to duplicate that. And they could just be one of those one-hit wonders and then they're okay. But I don't know. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence 2 years in a row.
I think the way with Trevor Lawrence was playing towards the end of the season is what you're probably going to get from Trevor Lawrence to start this season. I mean, they still have Jacoby Meyer. They still have Brian Thomas. They just extended Strange today, 3 for 45, I think. I could be wrong on that.
No, it was something like that. It might have been 48, but
yeah. And then you got Rashad Tootin at running back replacing Travis Etienne. So I mean, the pieces are there, right? But you lose you lose Devin Lloyd on the defensive side. I still like some of their secondary. I mean, I don't care about Travis Hunter that much. I don't know what they're going to do with Travis Hunter. Probably, I think they said corner, or did I read that wrong?
Corner, and then like he'll play sporadically on offense in like critical situations.
Yeah, and I hope he stays healthy because he is a dynamic player when he is healthy and whatnot. But yeah, again, I'm with Ethan on this. I love the Liam Coen signing. You guys heard how excited I was when they made that hire last off season. So I don't think there's going to be too much of a regression. I still think, 10 to 12 wins. I think that would be fine, but we'll see.
I think there's a regression from the Jags in the 2 parts that are important, and it's the run game and defense. Their defense was actually not good. They just forced a lot of turnovers. Are they going to be able to repeat that? And then is Tootin going to be as dynamic in the run and pass game as ETN was? Those are also question marks for me. ETN, whether you like him or not, he got the job done, and he got the job done well. I wasn't a big fan of his either, and then he got to the NFL and just made plays. So you guys know me. I love run game and I love defense, and I don't know if those are 2 repeatable parts for the Jags as well. So for me, I think this is the most wide open division. I really don't know what to expect. Like, Texans have the best defense for sure, but there's also not a quarterback you're throwing your eggs in their basket in this division either.
All right, rapid fire. Cody, who wins South?
I'm going to say Houston Texans.
Ethan?
Jacksonville.
Titans.
Yeah, and I still think I'm going to say the Texans. I really hate going against the Jaguars.
You should have said the Colts, so that way we split it 4 ways.
No, sorry, family show. I hate the Colts. I don't think they're good at all.
He's still upset from that last second field goal last season. Sorry.
No, it's Shane Steichen's a tool, so it's what it is. What it is.
All right, let's move on to the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw a ranking in it. Can I just ask, just real quick answer? Is Sauce Gardner the second best corner in football?
No,
I don't think so.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. He wasn't worth 2 first-round picks, so.
Okay, no, but I saw someone say he clears Gonzo and Stingley.
Oh, definitely not. No,
not even close.
We're not even going to entertain that anymore.
No, sorry,
let's go to the
NFC
South.
All right, NFC South. Ethan, who's the worst team in this division?
No. Is this the worst division in football?
Oh, all right, Ethan. Is this the worst team in football?
Is it the worst division in football?
Yes.
I think so. But I kind of think it has some like sneaky fun teams. I'm not gonna lie. Like, do I think like the teams are not very good? Yes, but I think they're gonna be really entertaining. I think the Falcons are gonna be a lot of fun. They paid pretty much all their stars, and so it's all coming back now. The quarterback situation is up in the air, but I still think it's gonna be fun. I think the Panthers are low key one of the most fun teams to watch in the league. I think Bryce Young is so polarizing, and it makes him entertaining, and you almost want to root for him because so many people dislike him. And he's just like, he played well all of last year. And like to get benched in week 2 and then come back and play well, like that takes a lot of like mental strength on yourself, being a number 1 overall pick, feeling like you're a bust, Dave Canales putting you on the bench, and then for you to come back out and play well and bring your team to the playoffs. Like, how can you not root for a player like that? I know a lot of people don't like him, but I think he's fun. I think Tampa, like Baker, is always going to be entertaining. That's his whole thing. I think Tampa is going to take a step back, and you guys talked about hot seat people. I think Todd Bowles is number 1 on the hot seat. He probably should have been fired last year, but if they don't win the division, he's definitely out. And then I haven't even talked about maybe the most fun team, which is the Saints. The Saints, like, if you look at their roster top to bottom, it has like some nice pieces. Like I haven't posted my tight end ranking yet because there's one player on there that I know people are going to disagree with. And I'm like trying to, Jawan Taylor had the most low key 900-yard receiving season from a tight end. No one talks about it. And he was top 5 in tight end receiving yards just because no one was talking about the Saints. I think Tyler Shuck is nicer than I thought he'd be. Chris Olave is a really good player. They got Travis Etienne now. Kellen Moore, I think, is a good coach. And Brandon Staley kind of figured out how to call defense again. I mean, I sent it in of that top 10 like edge rushers where for some reason Chase Young was there. But Chase Young had double-digit sacks last year.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the worst, but it's fun. It's really fun and entertaining.
Yeah, I'll be sitting there week 18 ready to watch the 7-9 Panthers take on the 7-9 Saints for the division title. Yeah, I mean, it is the worst division in football, albeit exciting football. Yeah, I mean, we're going to watch them either way. I mean, that's just kind of how it works.
I mean, the AFC East is not too far behind because they got 2 teams that aren't going to be relevant in that division. And at least the NFC South.
They're still going to have 2 teams that are going to be top of the conference.
But the NFC South has 4 teams that could win this division, which is funny. Like, it's pretty wide open.
Record.
Which,
yeah.
Yeah.
And probably none of them are going to be in wild card contention.
Exactly.
All right. Who wins the division then?
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Oh, and 17 merchants. There you go. Who wins this division? I'm going with the Saints.
I'm gonna go Panthers.
I'll go Falcons.
Nice. Come on, Austin.
I don't like any. There's not even a team where I can say I love your defense to where I can ride you.
The Panthers. I mean, I think the Panthers defense is gonna be sneaky this year.
If I had to, my favorite player in the division is probably Derek Brown, so I'm gonna go with Panthers.
Okay.
I'm a big Derek Brown guy, but like I'm not comfortable with it. Yeah, I'll go Panthers.
I picked the Panthers as my sleeper team last year, and they let me down because they went 8-9. This year, I'll say the Saints will be my sleeper team.
Didn't they get a playoff win?
They did.
Yeah,
they
didn't win in the playoffs, but
no, they lost to the Rams.
Yeah, they lost to the Rams.
It was really close though.
They almost got the Rams.
Oh, I see. Almost. I thought they won before that. Might be.
No, but they won the division.
Yeah. Even at 8-9, it doesn't matter how you get there.
Yeah.
All right. So then you're saying that you think the Saints are going to take a step forward then? Because your next question is, are the Saints the real deal?
Yeah, I think they do. And for the same reasons that Ethan kind of mentioned, I love Kellen Moore, who was Matt's obviously. Matt loved that hire when the Saints got Kellen Moore last year. So they started figuring it out, and Tyler Shuck started looking more comfortable and looking more like a quarterback. Chris Olave's on board. Juwan Johnson's there.
Jordan Tyson.
They got another receiver.
Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne now is going to be thrown into that mix. So yeah, they at least made the correct signings and picks, I think, to add to that roster. And I know they went through the cap hell for a while, and they still might be in it for a little bit longer. But those young players are finally starting to, look comfortable. They actually started looking like a competent football team, which I thought last year that they were going to win like 1 game, 2 games. Then they kind of started surprising people there towards the end of the season. So yeah, I think the Saints are the real deal.
Yeah, they got real Justin Reed too.
Yeah, real deal in the sense of you're saying they're gonna win the division, real deal, right?
Yeah, Cody, stop it. We're not going. Are they the real deal? Win the Super Bowl? No, this is the NFC South, dude. Quit.
This is a real deal to maybe get 9 wins.
Yeah, that's the breakout season for them.
I don't know. I think one of these teams, I don't think it's going to be like a losing season merchant, because I think one of these teams could legitimately win a lot of games versus their division. And so, like, if a team goes 5-1 within the division, they're going to.
Well, the way this always maps out for the NFC South, like they beat the shit out of each other for like 3 weeks straight. They get that, and then they may throw another game. But it seems like the Buccaneers and Falcons play like every 2 weeks. Like they're one game, then they go one other game, and then they go back to them. So it's just like one of those where it's just like they do beat the piss out of each other just nonstop. And I think that's what makes it so enjoyable, what Ethan was talking about. Like these are good competitive games most of the time between that division.
I'll take this from Nacho Fries because what I was going to say to Ethan was like a team should, like the Falcons, be good because they have so much. They have Bijan and Drake London and Kyle Pitts. They have improved pass rushers, young secondary, Jesse Bates leading it. Like it should be the Falcons, but it never is. To me, I think the best receiver in the South, it's Drake London, but I'm telling you, halfway through the season or sooner, we can be talking about Tech McMillan being that guy.
Well, and you got Buka too, so it's like one of those.
I also think Chris Olave is the best.
I think he's up there with the discussion. They got some sneaky good receivers in this division.
I just hate small receivers.
I think if Mbuka stayed healthy throughout the whole season, I think he'd be right in that because I like him on the Bucs.
And you can hate small receivers; he still puts up the numbers.
I don't hate small receivers.
No, I do. That's why I said Drake London or Tech because they're both giants.
Yeah.
But that's who we think the best receiver is. Is it Kyle Pitts breakout season, guys?
He broke out last year. Now he's the third highest paid tight end in the league. So it's hard to be like another breakout.
And Stefanski's there now, so yeah.
I just don't want to draft him in fantasy and then be heartbroken when he puts up 3 points.
Yeah.
Kind of tired of that.
Oh, so as Stefanski's the higher there.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we get ready to wrap up,
change my pick now. I don't want to pick.
I
forgot he's their head coach.
I was never going to pick the Falcons anyways, but guys, as we start wrapping up here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We again want to thank everybody who has followed us apparently on Facebook now too. That's just absolutely just taking off. So the news yesterday was we had that 100K post finally hit 100K, and then the followers started flowing on Facebook. So again, we appreciate all that from you guys. So again, don't forget to like, subscribe on all socials as well. Instagram, X, TikTok. Boys, what an episode tonight.
It's good stuff. And we got tight ends next week. So it'll be really, really fun.
And the most anticipated one is we'll talk about the East next week.
Yeah, because we're going to have not Rex Burkhead on Tuesday. So then we'll be able to get some Patriots and East intel from him and probably not make any sound decisions on the East the day after. But that's just how we roll. And
get some retorts from Mike's saying that Patriots may only get 8 or 9 wins next season.
Hell yeah.
Big facts.
Stand on your ground.
All right. Like Corey said, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media platforms right above Austin's head, as you can see. Shout out to Jeff and the crew at JBW Solutions, LLC, and also Emporia State Federal Credit Union, and Troy and the team at Field Ops Kansas. Boys, we'll see y'all next week.
Well done.